Hey now, what about it? How's it going, everybody out there? My name is Zach Ciota. This is HVAC Shop Talk. I'm living the dream and dreaming to live, guys. And I hope you are too out there on this fine Tuesday, the 8th of November, which I think is a great Big and Rich song, actually. The 8th of November. You guys would love it if you heard it. It's really, really good. So I'm just chilling here at the shop. Let's say hello to our chatters, plural. There's more than one. Success. Dominating YouTube. Absolutely. What's up, Mead Gunner, Cannon Cassie, Thomas Leck, and Cannon Casey says, let me see if I can move this stuff over here so I can see it better. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah, oh man, I can see it so much better now, man. It's going to be perfect. I want to see that chat really well, so I minimize and maximize. That's what I'm going to do. Why do this in advance when you could do it right there at the spur of the moment? That's what I say. All right, so hello, Cannon Casey. Josh F says, good song. Yeah, man, it's a good song. 8th of November, about a battle in Vietnam, whichever way you want to say it, by Big and Rich, which I really like. Big and Rich, I like them. I don't think they're together anymore, but I think it's John Rich is his name, perhaps, maybe. But he's a pretty good songwriter. Evidently, he was a songwriter for a long time, and then they formed their band, and he just, I guess, still writes songs, which is pretty interesting. So, like I said, hello to our chatters, Mead Gunner, Cannon Casey, Thomas Sleck, Cannon Casey again, and Josh F., who thinks this is a good song. What's up, everybody? You know, yesterday I was sitting here talking kind of an impromptu stream, and I was like, we were talking about some refrigerant stuff, and I'm like, man, I didn't really expand too much on that refrigerant stuff I was talking about because we were talking about HFOs. And Josh F. says he's from his hometown. That's pretty cool. So what, if you'll say the town, I'm kind of curious, just from my own knowledge, if you're comfortable with it, you know, either way, it don't matter. I guess I can Google it if I wanted to. But, hey, Roger G. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip you, Roger. Roger G is here as well, guys. Welcome, Roger G, to the party. But we're talking about HFOs, and I was explaining something. And thank you for the Amarillo, Texas. Very nice. We can see Amarillo by Morning, too, by George Strait. Like that song as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit about these HFOs because Cannon's fact-checking the stream. Big and Rich is still together. This was false information, and it will be flagged, and YouTube would take this down and put it with the rest of the COVID videos. No, but I'm gonna get to the subject now. I should probably focus. HFOs, and I was explaining a little bit about them. And I was like, I need to brush up a little bit on an HFO because I'm sitting here telling people about them. So, you know, where do I go? But the internet, because I know enough about them to know if the internet's telling me the truth about them, and because I know a little bit about, you know, chemical composition and stuff. Just this little, yeah. So the internet says, what does an HFO contain? And let me see if I can share the screen here because that would be a little bit better. Let's see which desktop. Oh, that's actually the right one. Fantastic. Oh, all right. So it says, what does HFO refrigerants contain? HFO refrigerants are composed of hydrogen, fluorine, and carbon atoms, but contain at least one double bond between the carbon atoms. The first HFO, jointly developed by DuPont and Honeywell, of course, who gives the government money, is HFO 1234YF, which is sold under the brand names Option YF and Solstice YF. So, right out the bat there, we have DuPont and Honeywell, of course. Guys, I really do think that most of our policy is shaped by how much money DuPont and Honeywell give the government. I believe that in my heart because that's how people work, man. It's all about money. So as long as they're funneling money in and creating new refrigerants, they're going to be like, hey, this new refrigerant we just created is probably going to be the future of refrigerants. You should get on board with this. Cannon Casey says, is an HFO the refrigerant used in a UFO? Well, if the UFOs would ever spend some quality time here, instead of just kidnapping what seems to be just crystal meth people and bringing them back after some sort of enema, then we could check. But now we assume there's some sort of space age technology in there, which could be HFO, but also UFOs come from outer space, and outer space is very cold. It's very cold out there. I learned that watching Star Wars. That's actually where I learned that. So I have my doubts about that knowledge, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So I'm just saying. All right. We're trying to learn about some real stuff here, Cannon. Just back off, bro. Just back off. Okay. So it says, is HFO a natural refrigerant? Well, I can go ahead and tell you that, like, no, it's not. Absolutely not. Because HFOs contain a whole bunch of unnatural stuff. Let's see what the Google says. It says natural refrigerant and hydrofluoroolefins are the two types of next generation refrigerants. It's just like Alexa. It tells me the answer to a different question. But I do love the questions that they pop up on here because it's actually pretty important that we know these things. It talks about HFCs. We're going to skip that one for right now. Is HFO environmentally friendly? Okay, HFOs are the next generation of synthetic, well, there goes natural out the window, synthetic chemicals being promoted by the industry for future use in cooling equipment. But while HFOs may be less harmful to the climate, this is my favorite part, they break down in the atmosphere to create high levels of trifluoroacetic. I know I'm saying it wrong. So say TFA, which could be very damaging to human health and in the environment. So, while HFOs may be less harmful to the climate, well, if you're harmful to the climate, then you're probably not good for the environment. That can't go together well. So I don't know what a TFA is. Trifluoroacetic acid. That ain't good. It's like when your car catches on fire when there's an HFO in there. Doesn't that make like fluorine gas or something? Isn't that the stuff they used in like World War I to kill people? That's astounding. Oh, this is an alarmist conversation for sure. I'm sure it's not quite as dangerous as I'm making it sound here. Let's go back to the chat for a second. So we have our chatters. Country Fried HVAC says DuPont is like a Bond villain level evil corporation. I would love for you to expand on that so we could, I always say that corporations are like little bitty governments. They have their own interest, and their interests are not necessarily shared with the interest of the populace. That's what I think. Cannon says they probably use propane in the UFOs. Cannon, you're probably right. If any one of us has been in a UFO, it would be Cannon. It would be Cannon. Thomas Leck says it's pretty hot on the side of your body that's facing the sun. You'll have about 800 degrees on one side and minus 200 to 300 on the other side. Yeah, I've heard that same sort of thing where if there's a lack of atmosphere, that you'll have these radical differences. We are somewhat shielded by our atmosphere. And if you go out there and you, like you said, you're facing the sun, you have this massive heat source and you're unshielded. Then if you rotate like to the backside of a planet or something like that without an atmosphere, for example, it's extremely cold. Brandon Brinney says, I predict it in like 20 years, we'll have R290 chillers outside and pump glycol to the coil. Man, that's exactly what we were talking about. Eric Melee was, I forget where this was. I think this was on like a Google Hangout years ago, talking about how we're going to have these propane chillers outside, just pumping that cool water or glycol, like you're saying, into the house. And we're just going to have like these miniature commercial systems, which I think is a pretty good idea, right? Because if you're pumping that stuff, it's easy then to zone things out. If you take refrigerant out of the equation, you keep all that refrigerant outside, and you're just pumping the heat transfer fluid like water or glycol or whatever. If you're pumping it to various air handlers or some sort of, I don't know, radiator or something like that, some sort of heat exchanger in some fashion, it seems like it'd be pretty easy to do that. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that now? That's what I wonder. Why can't we just do that now? There must be some big corporation out there that's paying the government for us not to do that. We should be pretty ticked, guys. We should be writing letters. If any of us are literate out there, I don't do it. That's why I don't read King James. I'm not literate. If any of us are literate and are good with a pen, like Alexander Hamilton, then write a letter to the government, guys. Thomas says, phosphine gas, Germans perfected that work. Great, killed my great granduncle. Took about 6 weeks for him to die. That sounds miserable. That sounds like the awful, I guess it's radiation poisoning, how radiation poisoning goes into your body and then you go through this slow process from which no matter how much time elapses, if you get a high enough exposure, you are going to have some sort of fatal ramification. If you got a lot of exposure, like the guy in the Chernobyl series, they have these little meters. The Russian guys had these little meters, and they measure the output from the reactor in, say, rentgen. Is there like rentgen or something like that? And the meter spikes, but the meter only goes up to like 3 or 4 rentgen, and they come back and it's like a Rontgen, rentgen. You guys know probably. And the guy comes back in the truck after he drives it up to the reactor, which is wide open, by the way. And it's like tens of thousands. And like, that guy's dead. I mean, the guy who drove the truck, he's going to die. It's just such a unsettling feeling. Like even the Russian guys who were there to oversee, even though they weren't right next to the reactor, all of them are going to die of some sort of related injury. It's just horrible. So that's crazy. That's wild how that stuff comes back, and now it was once a killing agent. Here we are. We're back. And it's not killing anymore, theoretically. Canon Casey, I cannot confirm or deny that statement. Oh, he was in the UFO. You can tell. You can really tell he was in the UFO, guys. Cannon was in the UFO and he had something inserted somewhere, probably. That's all I'm going to say. He's like the lady in the SNL skit who came back down. Geez, I can't remember her name now, so that joke makes no sense. Omit that joke. Okay. Sponsors. Hey, yes, I'm sponsored. People that own companies say, yes, we want to work with this guy. That's right. And a lot of them and a lot of other channels are like, why is that happening? I can't explain it, guys. I think it's Jesus. It's probably Jesus. So, Yellow Jacket, sponsored by Yellow Jacket. They make refrigeration service tools in case you can't read out there or are on a podcast. They make a lot of tools, and they've been making them for like 1,000 years. This claim is not factual. Like 1,000 years. And all of them are really, really great. And you can find out more at yellowjacket.com. They had some new stuff. We showed it last time. The new flare gauge. Awesome. I got it right here. Where'd it go? Here's a new flare gauge, guys. Flare sizing gauge. Here's one side of it that tells you the recommended maximum torque of the flare. That's handy. And the part number is 60297. So look it up. Buy a bunch of them. Call Yellow Jacket, tell them you bought it because of this show, so they will never leave me. Like the wife who's scared. Don't let them leave me. So, what's up, Raw Mesa? Good to see you too, man. We got Beckett down there. I got to move the Beckett when I'm blocking it with my girthy body. Beckett condensate pumps, condensate tabs. They've been making condensate stuff for probably like Yellow Jacket, 152,000 years. Back when T-Rexes roamed the earth, Beckett was using condensate pumps to move their watering holes from one place to another. Beckett condensate pumps. You can learn more by clicking the link in the description as soon as I put it in there, because this is a live stream and it's not there right now. But of course, you can just go to Google and search Beckett and it'll pop up. What's up? We have Chris from HVAC Aura videos. I think that's how that's pronounced. And you know it's Chris because there's a check by it. And they don't give people who aren't the real guys checks. And they don't give me checks either. And I don't know how you get one. I think you have to talk to a guy at YouTube, and that guy won't talk to me. But I don't care because Yellow Jacket sponsors me. All right. So, who else is there? Let's hit one more. TrueTech Tools. Save 8% at TrueTech Tools by using the Shop Talk discount code. Again, tell TrueTech Tools that my show is your favorite one, even if you're lying, by using my discount code. Thank you, guys. Transition. Okay. So let's get back over here. Let's find out what the internet thinks about these HFOs again. I paid $8 for my check. Isn't that a Twitter thing? Isn't that what they're doing at Twitter now? I think that's a Twitter thing. Elon Musk institutes the $8 a month check program, or $8 one time. I'm not sure what it is. Little Chingus says, your show is my second favorite. Well, Little Chingus, after I get off of here, I'm going to fling myself off a rooftop because you said that. So thanks a lot, Little Chingus. My blood is on your hands. Back to the internet. All right, here we go. Back over here to HFOs. I like this. Let's see what we have here. Is HFO banned? Wow. Ships aren't allowed to use or carry HFO there, and HFO cannot be carried as cargo or ballast either. What are they even talking about? Is HFO flammable? Let's skip. HFO 1234YF can be described as being mildly flammable as measured by standard methodology. That's kind of vague, isn't it? What does that mean? It's an A2L, maybe? It's an A2L? And who names these things? 1234YF? That's just somebody like some kid at the Honeywell place is like, what are we going to call this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you say the alphabet, little Johnny? 1, 2, 3, YF. Like, there's our refrigerant name. We're good to go. All right. Oh, I like this. Which is better, HFC or CFC? Man, Kane and Casey, you're all right, man. Says the show's a favorite. But Little Chingus says, hey, Zach, don't fling yourself off that building. It's going to be all right. Little Chingus, I believe you. I'm not going to do it. Let's see. HFC, which is better? What a vague thing that is. Which is better? Who could win in a fight? HFC or CFC? Because they contain hydrogen, HCFCs break down more easily in the atmosphere than do CFCs. Therefore, HCFCs have less ozone depletion potential in addition to less global warming potential. HFCs do not contain chlorine and do not contribute to destruction of the stratospheric ozone. Well, that is a lot of information right there. So I guess what HCFCs win over CFCs? The question was HFC versus CFC, and they've included HCFC as well. How can they make this more complicated? Do you guys ever wonder this stuff? The guys that do this refrigerant crap, they say, all right, we have CFCs, HCFCs, HFCs, HFOs, HCs. Everybody got that? It's like, okay, yeah. All right, let's vary the terminology a little bit. So, Ken says, so if HFC isn't bad, why are we getting rid of 410A? Because Kim Moore's probably wrote a big check to somebody or Honeywell or something like that. Guys, come on. It's money. It's money related. They give money to somebody. Yeah, we love the environment, sure. But everybody knows that this planet's going to be wiped out by an exploding solar flare before we destroy it by using R22 too much. That's not scientific at all. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean anything. But for real, though, if the air conditioners were made not to leak, like we said yesterday, we wouldn't have nearly the problem. Because anything that leaks, none of this stuff is good. If you breathe this stuff, you would die. So it's not like any of this stuff is good. But R22 depletes the ozone. So they said, all right, that's out. We can't have that. Bring in the HFCs. Got R410A. It has a higher GWP than R22. All right, the common sense meter's starting to flicker. Hey, that's stupid. Why'd y'all do that? I thought environment was so important. So why are you putting this big blanket over the earth and frying us all to death? Is that your way of helping the environment? Baking us slowly like Venus? So now they come up with the plans like, hey, here's what we're going to do. We realize that HCFCs depleted the ozone. So basically, we're making a nice hole in the atmosphere to go up to space. And the problem with the ozone layer is that when there's a hole, it sucks people out through it and they get thrown into space. I think that's my understanding scientifically. So they said, we can't do that. So we're going to have the HCFCs. So they bring in the HCFCs. Am I right there? HCFC? Yes. That's our R22. And they said, well, see, I screwed it up already. They bring in the HFCs, R410A, and it has a higher GWP. Says we don't have the hole anymore, but we're putting blankets around the earth and we're causing it to slowly bake. That's not problem solving, is it? So, all right, let's bring in the HCs, hydrocarbons. All right, hydrocarbons in general are highly flammable. This is the solution to the problem. We're going to let the technicians work with highly flammable refrigerants. Now, am I blowing this out of proportion? Surely I am. I'm absolutely blowing this out of proportion because, obviously, they would not introduce something that would hurt us. They would never do that, would they? Now, they don't care about you. That's the thing. They don't give a rat's buttocks about you. So they would definitely do that. Are they good refrigerants? Sure. They look like they're really good refrigerants. But, of course, every step you take, you're going to have a danger. Higher pressure. Oh, now it's flammable. Can we have higher pressure and flammable? Your wish is granted. Now we have things that are both. Now we have HFOs. HFOs break down into other deadly things. That seems great too. Okay. So what do we do as technicians? You got to change with the times. You got to get trained, right? You got to go out there and get trained on whatever it is, which is the solution. You got to make yourself viable in the future. You're a technician. You want to be a technician 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You got to get smart about this stuff. You got to train yourself. You got to become with the times, so to speak. But here's a major problem with this whole thing, at least to me. We had a group of guys in 2000. Yeah. Thomas Lex says, HC weeds out the gene pool, does humanity a favor. And the fiery hand of the HCs wipe out the bottom half of technicians. The ones that are dumb will no longer pollute the gene pool with their stupidity. And that's sort of what we're getting at here. And it's not just dumb, it's ill-informed. In 2010, 410A was like, all right, no more 410A units. So we had our dry charge units. R22 dry charge unit would come with like a nitrogen holding charge. You'd get like a few PSI of nitrogen, or sometimes it was more than a few. Then you put your R22 in it. Of course, the compressor had POE oil, so you could put 407C in it. It was a whole different animal. Now we have R22 replacements. So let's focus on the main ones. So R22. So you put your R22 in it, but why would you do that when there's 410A units? There's a whole segment of the trade, which I call HVAC trade light, that may not do it all the time, or maybe not as dedicated to training themselves. Yes, you guys know who they are. The guy at the supply house, like, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, let's get out of here. The guy who's not going to training classes, but's hanging out next to the popcorn machine. That guy, he wants an R22 unit still. So now those are gone. And then the 410A units will be gone. And now he's got exploding bomb units. That's way out of proportion, so I'm sorry. So you're playing with this exploding bomb unit now. And now the handyman's got one. Now, his handyman, he's got his old leaky gauges out there. And he decides, hey, guys, you know what? Know what I've done for many, many years is smoke cigarettes. We're not going to make it all girlish with a vape. Okay, we're not going to mess this up by giving the guy a vape. We're going to make him a man. He's smoking Marlboro Reds. And he's lighting the Marlboro Red. And all of a sudden, this slightly flammable or highly flammable refrigerant, because he does refrigeration too. These guys are everywhere. You refrigeration guys know. There's a bunch of hacks in refrigeration. So he's smoking his cigarette. He's getting down there, starting to brace. He's going to break it open. And all of a sudden, his facial hair gets removed. Fireball. Maybe fired, but that's not necessarily good for your health. That's what I'm worried about. I'm legit worried about the fact that you can't just make these plans for all the guys like you guys out there who are like, I'm watching Shop Talk Live because I'm learning about HVAC, or I'm getting some news or something. The problem is that there's a whole segment of guys that don't do any of that stuff, and you can't just say they're not there or they don't matter, because they do matter. Hey, they're hacks or whatever you want to call them. But everybody started out as a hack. No one started out knowing everything. So you got to be safe for those guys too. That's the problem I have. We don't choose things for the working guy. We choose things for government regulation BS. That's what I don't like. Let's see. Let's go back to the chat, guys. We got Medley Heating and Air, my well-to-do brother from Texas down there who's built quite the company. He's going to get a 22 tat right on his heart. Gone but not forgotten. Hey, that's what I'm saying. And not just, Medley here. He's wiser than the guys I'm talking about. But still, even it's like 22 was nice to deal with. I wish 22 was okay. It's like eating chocolate cake and going, I wish this was healthy. This is so much better. Let's see, my watch is going on. Let's see. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the text. LinkedIn, job alert. I think I'll take it. I could be an oil rig worker in the Gulf of... No, that's not for me. Cannon Casey says, will superheat and subcooling still work with new refrigerants, or will they actually charged critically like mini splits? And I think it's going to be similar for residential. Charging methods, I think, probably stay the same as they were previously. I think there's critical charge that's still superheat and subcooling, like for microchannel stuff. If you have superheat and subcooling, you still need those numbers, but the charge is critical, meaning you add a couple extra ounces and all of a sudden your head pressure is too high by a significant amount. So it means if you're talking about critical charge, like it just holds a few ounces, then it might be just let's weigh in the charge and be done with it. But if it's something like residential AC, I think we're still going to do it the same way we did it before. It's going to be new refrigerants. And depending on what refrigerant you're using, it's either going to be superheat, subcooling, bubble point, dew point. If you have like a mixture refrigerant with a lot of glide, the awful glide, it depends. Kenny Casey says, "Sir, don't you smoke cigarettes? You didn't light a cigarette." Yeah, if you're talking to me, I smoked cigarettes for a long, long time. It's a very unhealthy habit, but man, they were great. Every now and then, my wife smoked like when she was much younger, like for a short period of time. I smoked for like 15 years. And if smoking was declared healthy, I would run out and buy some smokes right now. And it's been 15 years since I quit. It's crazy. Hey, Zach, why can't I rewind a stream to the start? Usually this was possible. I don't know. I probably clicked the wrong button, Sam. Whenever I set it up, there's a button that's called DVR, which means you can go backwards, but it's not. Yeah. I probably just didn't hit it. Rambro said cigs with a shizzle, bruh. Yeah, man, I like cigs a lot. Pall Malls were, $2.48 when I quit, but Marlboro Reds were $1 something when I started. Times have changed, bruh. Times have changed. Okay. Let me do one final sponsor spot. Let me see if I can remember all the other sponsors I didn't do so far. EWC has the best forced air zoning on the market. I dare you to disagree in the chat. I dare you to disagree and call anyone else better. EWCcontrols.com. They make zoning supplies. They make thermostats, outside air controls, a lot of great stuff. Find out more. Your supply house might have it. But EWCcontrols.com definitely has information if you like learning. If you don't like learning, then why are you here? Probably for the comedy, and I understand that. That's just fine. Let me think. Who else didn't I mention? Company Cam. Company Cam, you can consolidate all your company's photos. You can bring your company together in an organized fashion by consolidating your documentation on your jobs into one spot where everybody can look at where you're at. The boss man can look at you, not in a big brothery kind of way, but just in a how's it going at the job kind of way. So companycam.com, you can find out more about that. So I know there's somebody else. Geez, someone in the chat want to tell me what my sixth sponsor is? I know there's another one. Guys, we're not going to go on until I can remember. Did I do NAVAC? I don't think I did NAVAC, actually. NAVAC. Battery-controlled tools for the HVAC man in your life. It's holiday season. Pick your man or significant other up a NAVAC battery-controlled vacuum pump. Battery-powered, I mean. It's not controlled by the battery like some kind of weird spell it has on it. It's just powered by it. Jackson Systems. That's an older show there, Cannon. I do like Jackson Systems, but they're no longer sponsored, so they might as well not exist. I did Beckett before, Sam, but thank you. Sam didn't watch the first half of the show. Now I know Sam didn't watch the first half of the show. Good grief. Of course, that DVR comment also, kind of said that Sam showed up in the middle, which is okay. You guys should not be stationed next to the internet waiting for me to go live. That would be crazy. That'd be crazy. Man, well, let's get, I had some other stuff on here, but we're not going to get to it. Oh, sadness. Let me see, HFC. Let me see if I can do a couple more refrigerant ones, and we'll call it a day, and you guys can go about your merry way, whatever you're doing. Let's see, our HFC banned. Here you go. Nearly 6 years after the United States helped negotiate it, the Senate has ratified a global climate treaty that would formally phase down the use of hydrofluorocarbons, or HFCs, if you don't like saying words that have 55 letters. Industrial chemicals commonly found in air conditioners and refrigerators, insulating foams, and pharmaceutical inhalers. All right, well, let's get rid of them, man, because they're bad. Let's get some exploding refrigerant, so we'll be better off. Let's see, HFC harmful to humans. I like this. HFCs can pose a risk to humans as HFC gases often are explosive gases that are highly flammable. Well, that's weird. I'm getting some conflicting. I'm sure there's one out there that's flammable. Which is better, R32 or R134A? The average coefficient of performance, or COP, obtained using R152A, which is not even the question. Well, I can go ahead and tell you guys, R32 is better. Google's not worth a crap at trying to figure this stuff out because it answers questions you're not asking. R32 is obviously better than 410A, and you can use logic to figure that out because, Sam, you can use logic because R32 is an ingredient in 410A. So 410A is equal parts of R32 and R125. R125 serves as a flame suppressant because R32 is an A2L, which is mildly flammable. Now that we're using mildly flammable stuff, and that's just an everyday thing, we don't need the 125 because it does two things. The 125 greatly increases the GWP and makes it a little bit less good as a refrigerant. So R32 is better, except for that whole flammable thing. And R32 is only this much flammable, meaning if you light it, it's not going to explode and blow up. If you hold a lighter to it, this is how it was explained to me, and you light it like a little leak, little flame comes out whenever you light it. But if you stop, the flame stops. As opposed to A3 refrigerants like propane, isobutane, butane, methane, all the other anes out there. When you light those, you have a bad day. It's just a mistake. Ken and Casey says you named your kid after them and still they don't sponsor you. That's what I'm saying, man. I named my kid after their company and they ditch me? Bro, not cool. Not cool, bro. All right, dudes, because I don't see any ladies in here, so I'm going to say dudettes. I'm going to get out of here. I just want to hang out with you guys for a little while. Maybe we can hang out tomorrow. I don't know when. It's going to be a surprise. Stay vigilant. Make sure whenever you subscribe to this channel, if you are subscribed, please do. I'm about to cough. I got to hit the button. Hold on. Hope you didn't hear that. That was really loud. So if you're subscribed or not subscribed, if you do subscribe, hit the little bell and you'll be notified. Let's see. Thomas, like your grandmother's Aquanet hairspray was more flammable. Remember using the lighter on that stuff? I sure do, bro. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, fried spider webs. Dude, I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Have a good night, Zach. Hope you have a good night when I can call in. Cannon, if you're around tomorrow, we'll do that. Raw Mesa, good night, Zach, when you do more fake news. Okay, Raw, here's my plan, okay? Doing fake news is an elaborate affair, and I'm kind of like a live stream kind of guy. So what I was thinking is I would actually try to do them live. Maybe have like a rough idea and see if I can pull one off right there in the moment. So stay tuned for that. I don't know when that'll be. I'll probably jot down a couple things, something about Goodman probably, and then try to do it on the air. But I just got to get it because usually I have like a little green screen when I film it, so I have to do something to make it look sort of like a news thing. But I'll figure it out. Even if I have a little string on it and I let it down, then I roll it back up in between or something. But I want to try that because I like doing stuff like with some pressure live. It makes me better at it. I don't like all this planned ahead stuff. It makes it worse for me. A little bit of pressure makes the comedy better. That's what I'm going to try anyway, guys. I want to say thank you to our chatters. I really appreciate that, guys. Sam, Raw, Cannon, Thomas, Clint, Rambro. I like your name, man. Medley. Let's see who else we got. Little Chinggis, Chris, Brandon. Oh, Country Fried. Go all the way up. Josh F. Guys, thank you for tuning into the show. You can listen to this as a podcast. Yeah. Can I make fun of Goodman like the stars come up at night? I just every day I like to do it. Every day. Come on. They're awful, right? They're bad, right? No worse than anything else. It's the installer, guys. The installer makes all the difference. Isn't that what we're told? No. There are certain brands that installers can't save. Goodman and Nordyne. Those are those two brands. Guys, I love you, and I'll see you on the next one.